Yeah, the third trumpet judgment says the waters are struck, a great star falls from heaven and ends up poisoning a third of the rivers and the springs of water. Think about how precious water is, how important water is to everything that we do. That supply is about to be cut off during this time.
Yeah, and I've had astronomers on the program, and I've asked them, you know, there's some movies that have been made about just one little comet coming in and hitting the Earth. And sometimes at the beginning of that, they're saying if it's big enough, we're all done, we're gone. But if just a little part, they cut off all the rest and a little bit of the comet comes in here, the fact is it could take out maybe a couple of nations, or it could do what it's talking about here. If it's big enough, our water supply would be touched, and people would die. And people have already seen the movies of what will happen. And I'm saying, this is saying it's going to happen. Keep going.
Yeah, what God is basically doing here, He's taking away the things that people depend upon so that God can tell them, you need to be depending on me. This fourth trumpet judgment, the third of the sun and the moon and the stars, their light is dimmed in the earth. You think about how important light is to the earth. And so, once again, God is showing His sovereignty, His control over the earth.
Yeah, well, Ron, you have a hard time breathing. If a comet hits, think of the dust that's going to be in the earth. I think that you're not going to be able to see the sun and the moon simply because all of the stuff that's in the atmosphere, it's going to go dark.
Well, not only that, the darkness itself is going to have an effect on vegetation, you know, whatever vegetation is left. Light is required for vegetation to grow. So what we see is the famine problem is cascading out of control. It's going from bad to worse. And just when people have very little water to drink, very little food to eat, what we find next is that demons are released from the bottomless pit. And, you know, read the description here. Their shape was like a horse, their faces like men. They had hair like women, breastplates of iron and wings, tails like scorpions, and there were stingers in their tails. You know, John, those are really ugly demons. But the bad part is they can sting. And they're going to torment human beings for 5 months. So again, you're out of food, you're out of water, and now you're being physically tortured by these demonic spirits. That's why we say that in the tribulation period, the judgments go from bad to worse.
Yeah. I also want to come back to this thing that, you know, Anne Graham Lotz, when she was here, she did the book of Revelation, and it was very interesting that she kept saying, between every one of these judgments, there's a pause. And the pause shows the mercy of God even with this judgment. And it was a chance for people that saw this, recognized that God was dealing with humanity, and they would turn and put their faith in Jesus. Now, they're in a time period where the Antichrist is ruling, and they know they got real pressure. If they put their faith in Jesus, the Antichrist will want to try and kill them. They won't be able to get food. They won't be able to get anything for their family. It gets tougher to make a decision for the Lord as we go along, but the opportunity to do it is there, even if you're going to die. So with the judgments comes the mercy of God, but God is still operating. Let's continue. Jeff, what's the next one?
Yeah, the sixth trumpet judgment says 4 angels are released that are bound at the great river Euphrates, and there's a 200 million army that is released. I believe these are demonic cavalry, supernatural cavalry that are released, and they kill a third of mankind. And if my 5th grade math serves me correctly, John, that's half of mankind now that's been decimated by the judgments of God. And what's very interesting too is that we saw in the very first part, when the first judgments were released, you saw a great number that no man can count come to know Jesus Christ. But as we go along, we don't see that as much. In fact, the Bible tells us that man's heart gets harder and harder. They begin to get angry at God the more He brings these judgments. This is an impetus why people need to trust Christ now before their hearts become hard.